You're listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network.
You are listening to the FinFans podcast, where we discuss everything Miami Dolphins. It's the off season, and we're looking forward to a fresh new start under different management in 2026. We hope you'll join us and enjoy the show. And it's another FinFans podcast. With me today are the Ragones, Lewis and Chris. Good morning, guys.
Morning, Mike. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Chris?
How's everybody doing?
I didn't hear anybody answer, but I'm going to guess they're doing okay.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go back and forth asking each other how we're all doing. Mike, how you doing?
I already told you.
Yeah, Chris?
I'm doing good. Draft's coming up, 2 weeks, exciting times.
All right.
Yep.
All right.
That kind of brings us to the theme of today's show. We're going to talk about the first round.
Yeah, we're past the formalities, on to the business at hand, huh? How many weeks are we away now? Today's the 12th. So
2 weeks.
2 weeks from this coming Friday?
Thursday.
What's the date? This coming Thursday. What, the 23rd or the 30th?
Yep, the 23rd.
Wow. I'm liking it.
You should know this.
11 days away. No, Mike, I don't. I'm sorry. I knew it was near the end of April. I apologize.
Yeah, we'll let it slide this time.
Basketball, playoffs are getting ready to start. Baseball's in full throttle right now. So,
but it's the draft, Lewis.
Oh, yeah. Football's still at the bottom for another week or so. Go ahead. A little bit ahead of hockey. Go ahead.
A little bit ahead of hockey. Well, yeah, the Florida Panthers did not have the great season this year, but they've been phenomenal aside from this season.
Yep.
Yeah, back-to-back championships. You can't complain about a down year.
No, they had horrible injury luck.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the first round. I mean, you look at the Dolphin projections, and I mean, how many guys have been mocked to them? About 7 or 8 pretty regularly?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's, these things are so hard to predict. I mean, trades come about, and it just screws the whole thing up, right? Out of nowhere,
somebody goes the direction you don't expect them to, and kind of change. Players start falling. Once a cornerback goes, there's a run on cornerbacks. That's the way it goes. You just have to see how the board falls and who does what to influence it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that. Go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say what's interesting too is, when you look at the NFL Network, their big board is different than ESPN's, and their big board's different than PFF. It's interesting to see how these different sites have guys rated above.
Yeah. The thing I like, is the fact that, now that we have 2 picks, we're going to have basically a shot at 2 of the top 30 players and, coming out of the draft. I mean, that's always a good thing, if you can get 2 really, really solid football players in the first round right out of the gate, with this new regime, it just sets the tone going forward. And there's a lot of talent. There's certain positions that are not, overly strong this year. The quarterback position comes to mind, but man, the receiver position, I mean, there's some really, really, talented guys that are going to be around even when we draft at number 30. So, I'm loving it. You start getting excited about this. You can't wait to see, who we put in the books there. And hopefully it's not a disappointment, because we've all dealt with that, guys getting drafted that we're just sitting there scratching our heads saying, really?
WTF.
That's what we did? Yeah, WTF, right. I mean, it's like, so, hopefully, we're very happy with the picks, that they come up with, guys that, there's so many positions we need on this team. And, I think that, we're going to be able to fill some of those needs without a question of a doubt, especially the receiver position. I think we're in great shape to get some quality guys there at that specific position.
Chris, let me ask you, your dad talked about wide receiver, but we have a defensive coach now and a lot of needs on defense. Do you think they draft a receiver in the first round?
I think it just matters how the board falls to us. I mean, if a guy like Carnell Tate, who's projected to be a top 10 pick, falls to you at 11 there, you definitely have to think about it. Mekhi Lemon's another guy from USC who's projected to go more like top 12, top 15, but I've had some mocks have him going before we even pick. So, I mean, I like both of those guys. There's a third guy as well, slipping my mind at the moment, Jordan Tyson, who I like a lot and who most draft analysts say that he's the most talented out of the three. The problem with him is he's had durability issues. So, and that's not just last year, it's the last couple years. So that's a little bit alarming. I mean, if he somehow fell to us at 30, I'd definitely be more inclined to take him there than I would at 11. But I mean, it really just depends on who's available when we're on the board there at 11. But I mean, if a guy like Carnell Tate does fall to us, who's a bigger receiver, who they're looking for, I mean, I'd be all for it. I mean, the guy had one drop last year, so I mean, that's one thing we've been prevalent to seeing the last couple of years from Waddle and Tyreek is drops, especially in big games. So to get a sure-handed guy like that, I mean, Mekhi Lemon's another guy who has great hands too. He's a little bit smaller at 5'11", but can run every route, lines up in the slot, does a lot of the dirty work across the middle and stuff, which, we're going to need now too. But yeah, like I said, I mean, it kind of just really depends on what falls to us. But I mean, I wouldn't be disappointed if we took one of those two guys, depending on what's there.
I mean, and here's the other thing, in regard to that, Mike, we do have deficiencies on the defensive side, a lot of holes to fill. But, who was our big signing in the offseason, right?
The quarterback.
The quarterback. So they want to be able to evaluate him with some sort of talent around him. And at this point, the receiver position is very, very depleted. I mean, you've got Malik Washington, you've got Tutu Atwell. Who did we pick up from Dallas?
Jordan Tolbert.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's basically, and then we got the other Washington coming back next year as well, right? The
Taj,
other kid,
yeah.
Taj. That's our receiver group. Past that, I don't even know who else is on the roster right now, but they want to be able to evaluate this guy with some sort of talent around him. So, that may be a factor in it, even though he's a defensive-minded head coach. He may be looking at, well, listen, this is the first move we made, between him and the GM. So, we've got to back him up with some guys. And that's the one thing I felt that, the last regime with Tua, they didn't really per se put an offensive line in front of him that, they knew he was coming off of some serious injuries. And, they went in different directions than what they probably should have to protect him over those first couple of years. You would hope that there's a philosophy here with this regime to where, okay, we signed Malik Willis, we've got him in, but, he doesn't have an awful lot to work with. How are we going to evaluate this kid over the next year or so if he doesn't have weapons to throw to? So, that could be a deciding factor in how they approach that, that very first pick as well. That could influence him into going that direction if, Tate's there or somebody like that.
Yeah, up later in the first round, there's a receiver by the name of Denzel Boston. Could be available at 30 when we pick there.
Right.
Yeah. Good against man coverage, not as good against zone coverage. But he's 6'4", 209. Right now, he's mostly a slot receiver. He does need to develop his outside game. but he has elite hand strength, and at his size, he'd be a great contested ball player.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right.
That's somebody they might consider.
Yeah, I love that prospect. I mean, that's one guy who I was going to talk about at 30 if he's available, and depending on if we go wide out at 11, if we don't, and he falls to us, I think that'd be a great pick. I mean, I've seen some mocks of him going to Buffalo a couple picks before us, so let's hope that doesn't happen. But, I mean, yeah, you said it, Mike, 6'4", 212. I mean, he's got good hands, good jump ball guy. That's something we need to add to the room because right now, I mean, I think our tallest receiver is 6'1", and it was Jalen Tolbert that we just picked up. So we definitely need to add some size, especially, given what Sully and Halfley have said that they wanted to add to the team, just, size overall. But, yeah, he's definitely a prospect that I would love at 30.
Yeah, he's somebody I would consider, too.
Yeah, I mean, and who's to say, depending on how things fall, that they don't maybe they just address the receiver with both first-round picks. And then in the second and third rounds, they worry about, filling in other positions. I mean, you would hope that these guys, do a much better job, especially in the second and third rounds, right, than what the last regime did. So, I mean, it doesn't end for us, after that first round. I mean, if he's the most talented guy there and you've already drafted Tate, then who's to say you don't draft him as well? I mean, it'd be interesting. I mean, it'd be funny, Mike, even more so, the fact that you mentioned the fact that he's a defensive coach, that their first 4 or 5 picks are on the offensive side of the football. That would be kind of funny, wouldn't it?
I don't know if it would be good funny.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, maybe, you address one side of the team, 1 year, and then you just concentrate solely on the defense the following year. I don't know, their frame of mind and their way of thinking, I think is going to be a good thing. I truly believe they have a plan. I think that, depending on what happens in front of us, they'll probably have 4 or 5 different options maybe that they want to, different directions they go in. But I know they're going to be very, very prepared. And, the one thing we don't want to see are projects. We don't want to see guys that they need to develop. We need guys that can get right out on the football field at the age of 23, rookie contracts, coming out and producing right out of the gate, which is something we haven't had enough of.
Ordinarily, I think you should focus your top picks on impact players and positions that are highly paid.
Yeah.
Like an edge rusher.
Yep.
Like a wide receiver. Guys who cost a lot of money.
Yes.
Because that way you get them for 5 years at a reasonable salary.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that is usually my thought process. But this team has so many needs, you really can't do that. You've got to take the best available athlete.
Yeah.
And, maybe it's a Caleb Downs, a safety sitting there at 11,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would love that. That's one of my favorite picks. I mean, especially with, Halfley being a defensive backs coach and saying that he kind of wants to run the defense through his safety as like the red or the green dot guy instead of a linebacker. And Caleb Downs has everything. He's got a very high football IQ. He's got all the talent in the world, too. You can move him around. And, I mean, that would be a surefire home run pick. I just don't know if he's going to fall to us at 11.
Right.
He might. I mean, I'm going to ask you guys a question because this is really interesting, and then I'll, this goes back to, my comment in regard to, the 2 receivers in the first round being a possibility. So going in the last season, you guys think back and tell me what our concerns were in regard to the team that was on paper and going into that season. What were the 2 positions or the 2 groups that we were the most concerned about?
Quarterback?
No, outside of the quarterback.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. outside of the comedic comment. Go ahead, Chris, since Mike already made his.
I would say corner and defensive tackle were my biggest issues last year going into the season.
And Mike, what about you?
No, I think that's fair. Note? I think that's fair.
All right. So going in the last season, that was our biggest concern, right? Now, think about over the course, and I would have said offensive line as well. I was a little concerned with the offensive line. So those were our two biggest concerns in my eyes. Okay.
Well, you might as well say three, right?
Yeah. Well, we're all on the same page at the cornerback position, right? Now go back to last season, guys. We were like, man, they're going to get torched. And in all honesty, when you look back, they did not play overly bad as a unit.
All right, what we're going to do is we're going to take a step back for just a couple minutes, and we'll be right back.
Well, maybe they got Mike.
I'll tell you why I say that. They picked up two capable corners in August.
Okay, Mike. I don't care about the avenue they went down to get to that situation. My point is that. We're concerned. We're so concerned with all these different positions. We don't have to go crazy saying, man, we have to draft a corner, because I think that's what's gotten us into trouble in the past. You said it perfectly just now. We got through a season last year with guys that we picked up so late. And I'll tell you what, as a group, and we had a lot of injuries, keep in mind, too. We had a lot of guys go down, early injuries. But yet, over the course of the season, they were all serviceable. They were not the issue. It was the guys up front, the pass pressure, the things that we thought were going to be a strength were our weakness. So I feel that you do draft the best available guys at those positions, and then you try to make things work. The safety position, Chris, that's great. If we get a Caleb Downs, if you have a guy there that's a true stud's going to be a Pro Bowl player, then you go that route. It may not be the biggest need on the football team, but it's up there, and that's what you do. They have to approach this draft that way, because they can figure out pieces to the puzzle to at least be serviceable through this season down other avenues. And we proved that last year, even with, a knucklehead a GM like we had last year, that decided to address it so late, into the preseason, right? Or right before the season started.
Yeah, I agree too. I agree with Mike a little bit too. That's not ideal. That's not really what you want. It worked last year, but one of those guys, Jack Jones, just signed with San Francisco, and this is a whole different defensive scheme that they're bringing in. So I don't know if you lean on that, but I'm on NFL.com right now, and their third highest rated player is Mansour Delane, the cornerback from LSU. So if he falls to you at 11 and you take him, he's the best player available. I don't have an issue with that either. Me
neither.
We have so many holes that it's kind of a good thing. We can take him. If a guy like Reuben Bain Jr. falls to you, the edge rush, you can take him. Francis Maui-Noah, who plays right tackle but can also play right guard. He's available, cool. Sonny Styles is an interesting one too, because they have him projected to go in the top 5, top 6 in most of the drafts. But if he falls to you right there, even though you have a Jordan Brooks, if he's the best player available, you take him, and then maybe, you line him up next to Brooks, or you try to get rid of Brooks and, pick up a 3rd or 4th round pick on draft day. There's so many different avenues we can go. And if a lot of these top guys are gone at 11, I can see us trading down a couple spots and then taking like maybe a Makai Lemon at 15 and then still having that 30 pick. So, it's definitely a good problem, I guess, as far as us having so many holes, because there's so many different avenues we can go.
Mm-hmm. I think you can find somebody in the top 21.
Mm-hmm.
Really, that has the potential for a decent future.
Yep.
So, and then beyond that, of course, there are going to be other guys that have good potential too. But I'm talking about guys that really are blue chip or close to blue chip athletes.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, yeah, I got you.
So, it just depends on what their philosophy is. But, it's a new regime, so you really don't know what to expect. I mean, we know what he said. He said he's going to draft the best player available, which most GMs are going to say. They got the top guy on their board. This is the guy we really wanted. We hear the same thing every year. But you don't really know how their board falls. You don't really know if they really got the guy they wanted. A guy that's projected to them most recently is Spencer Fanu, a tackle out of Utah. Can play right tackle and can play right guard.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a possibility as well. I mean, there's so many different ways they can go. They really are in a good position, I think, to get somebody who's going to help the football team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Fano I like. I just think that 11 might be a little bit too high with him. The same thing with Vega Ione, who's the best guard prospect in this draft, and some people are saying that he's the second best overall offensive lineman prospect.
Uh-huh.
So that's just one of those situations, like I said. I mean, if none of our guys that we really want are available at 11, if a lot of those top blue chip guys that we've been talking about are off the board, then, you can trade down, like I said, a couple spots and still pick up a Spencer Fano or an Ione who's, going to change.
McCoy.
Yeah, or McCoy. McCoy just worries me a little bit because he didn't play at all last season.
That's why you can get him there. That's
the
but
reason. I think with both of these picks, you can't really take guys like you can't take a gamble on a guy, especially with this new regime and, us giving up Waddle. I mean, those two picks that you take in the first round, you have to hit on those guys. And not to say McCoy's not going to be a great player, because he could, but a guy who didn't play at all last year, who's coming off an ACL, who is a corner. We see corners, not be able to be that same player they were before the injury. So,
right, we have. But he just had a workout and he ran a good 40.
Yeah, he did.
It seems like he's, back in athletic form.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's going to take him a little while to get back to his top shelf self,
mm-hmm.
that could happen. But we're not in a rush.
Yeah.
So I could see them doing that, if the opportunity presents itself. And like I said, they're not in a rush. If it takes them a year to get back, they should be okay with that. They'll play him, let him stumble a little bit, and that's okay.
Yeah, it just makes me nervous given our history of injury.
I understand.
Injury play guys, especially at the corner position. It feels like every single year we just get killed with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've been unlucky, in regard to draft picks, injuries. That goes back a while too, back to Util Green days.
I was going to say Util Green.
Yeah, but I think the guys that are going to be making the decisions are going to do a fantastic job for us. It's simple as that. I think that they're going to evaluate. I don't think they're going to take a lot of chances. This is, this is a big year for them. I mean, this is going to set the tone going forward.
This is their foundation.
This is the foundation, right? Much like, the draft that we had with Tua and Austin Jackson and Bignogany, that draft. I mean, that was supposed to be our foundation. So hopefully things turn out a hell of a lot better than that last one, because here it is, 5 years later, and we're right back to square one, from top to bottom, square one. Woof. We're at a point where, as Dolphin fans, and, I think everybody, even if you're not a Dolphin fan and you're looking at this organization, you're like, man, they're a joke. That's where they are right now. That team's been in mediocrity for forever. And I think that teams are going to have a different way of looking at us going forward. I truly believe that, because I think the guys that we have in place are not a comedy show. You know, the head coach, the owner's still there. But I mean, you guys think about all the stupidity that's gone on, you know, between our star player doing stupid stuff, our head coach just mumbling and bumbling through press conferences, our GM getting involved with, you know, basically tampering along with our owner. I mean, you know, all of these things, it's like, my God. I mean, every offseason, there's always been one thing or another, right? Doesn't it feel that way? And you got 31 other teams in the league that you don't hear, you know, a pin drop from them. But we're always in the news in the offseason over stupidity. So, you know, let's just hope that we get through this offseason. You know, we've gotten rid of a lot of the, you know, the nonsense that we had and, you know, and all those type of people. And I think that we're just going to be in a much better position. And I think we're going to start getting respected, you know, once again as an organization, which is something that hasn't been the case for a long time now. What are you laughing about?
Let's talk about the 30th pick. We mentioned Denzel Boston. Who else do you think you would consider in that area, Chris?
So another guy who's been mocked to us that I like, that he was a lot higher at the beginning of the draft process, he's kind of fell a little bit, is Keldrick Falk. 6'6", 276. He's an edge rusher from Auburn, I believe. And he was third team All-SEC this year. He had 4 pass breakups, too, from the edge position, which is nice to see. 5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, team captain. He would be a nice selection there. If we don't go wide receiver with that first pick, another guy who we've actually brought in for a top 30 visit is Casey Concepcion, receiver from Texas A&M. Little bit of a smaller guy. He's 6 foot, 196, but a lot of teams have really liked what they've seen from him and what they've heard from him in the interviews. He was first team All-SEC and wide receiver and all-purpose, so he can give you a little bit in the return game too. He won the Paul Hornung Award, which is the nation's most versatile player. He was tied for third in the FBS with 2 punt return touchdowns. He had 61 catches, 900 yards, and 9 touchdowns, and started every game.
After the catch, he's that type of player.
Yep, he had a couple rushing touchdowns too, so you can use him in a couple different ways. Those 2 guys I really like at that position. Another interesting prospect too, who's I've seen gone anywhere from 9 all the way down to 30, is the best tight end in the draft, and that's Kenyon Sadiq. I mean, if he's there at 25 and we're at 30, I would like to maybe see us move up, you know, a couple picks and give up one of these third rounders, or even if we did that and to get back in the second round, I would like to see us do that. Akeem Mesidor, who I don't think will be there at 30, he's projected to go anywhere from 12 to 20. The edge rusher from Miami. He's a stud. The only issue with him is he's 25. So, you know, by the time you go to give him his second contract, he's going to be pushing 30. So that's why, I mean, if he was, say, 22, 23 years old, I think we'd be talking about a top 12 pick. Because as good as Ruben Bain was, I would say Mesidor was just as good. I mean, they complemented each other very well. Aside from that, I mean, you got Caden Proctor, who's a tackle from Alabama, who would be interesting if he fell to us there. But yeah, those are just a couple guys that I like. Zion Young, an edge rusher from Missouri, who a lot of people like. I mean, we're going to have some options, and I forgot to mention him too, but a couple mocks have us taking him, but Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, the safety from Toledo.
Right.
And you know, you may think, oh, Toledo, small school, I don't know if that'll work out. Ask the Eagles how Quinyon Mitchell's worked out for him. He was a corner from Toledo a couple years ago. Now he's one of the best corners in the league. So,
yeah,
that's somebody I would love. I mean especially if we don't get downs at 11.
Yeah, you can draft players out of small schools, but you really have to do your homework.
Yeah.
Dennis Hickey, when he was here for 1 year, and he drafted almost exclusively small schools, and none of those guys really worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all a crapshoot.
Yep.
It really is. I mean, I think Warren is, though, he's a rock solid football player, regardless. I think he'd be a good pick there if he's available at a position of need. Yeah. I mean, there's going to be talent there. Talking about 29 guys off the board. That's not an awful lot. I mean, it really isn't. With the pool of talent that's coming out, my goodness, if teams go on a receiver run, right, and then some team decides to draft the second quarterback in the first round, which I can't see, but you never know.
Yeah,
you never know.
It could happen.
I mean, it could happen, right? I mean, you could literally see like 6 receivers go, prior to us, maybe even 7. At that point, you're talking about a lot of talent at certain positions still on the board. So, they're in great shape. I mean, that Waddle trade, as far as I'm concerned, was a fantastic move. So, you'll probably be able to replace him with a very, very good receiver, if you wanted to go that route at 30, and not paying a guy an awful lot.
Right.
Yeah, there's probably a good 4 or 5 receivers that'll go in the first round at minimum. So
yeah, anyway. I'm looking at the list now, and I see 6 guys who I've seen projected to go in the first round. Another guy who would be interesting at 30 from the wide receiver position is Chris Brazzell II, 6'4", 200 pounds. The dude can fly, and he's had some injury history, which, again, like I said, with those first 2 picks, it's hard to take a gamble because you want those 2 guys to be part of the pillars going forward, But I mean, he's good. He had 62 catches, 9 touchdowns last year. He played in all 12 games last year. His pops played for the Jets, which we don't like too much, but anytime you get those bloodline guys, those sons of players who were in the NFL, his comp is Christian Watson. He's a bigger guy who can fly down the field, and he's a nice deep threat.
Yeah, he's 6'5", 200.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see.
I've got him ranked 58th, so 30 might be a little early.
Yeah, maybe a second round pick. But they said that, the talent's there. He could end up being one of the top 3, top 4 best receivers. But yeah, a little bit of a risk there.
I'd be looking more towards Concepcion if he's there.
Yeah.
And then Denzel Boston, which we spoke about already.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, this is Mike again, breaking in for a second just to ask a favor of you. We would like to request that you go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review and rate the show. Let us know how we're doing. We'd very much appreciate it. Thank you, and fins up. All right, guys, we're going to break for a few moments, and we'll be right back. So that's if you're going receiver. I mean, maybe you can find an edge player there or, another position of need.
Yep.
Do you draft a defensive lineman, an interior defensive lineman that early?
No.
If he's the best player on your board?
Maybe, but I personally would stay away from that just because we have Sealer, we have Kenneth Grant coming back, we have Jordan Phillips who played good, Zeke Biggers. I mean, we have some good, young, capable guys at that position, and I just feel like we have so many other needs. I mean, if a guy like Caden McDonald falls to us at 30, who's projected to be the best defensive tackle out of Ohio State, falls to you there, then you think about it. Caleb Banks from Florida is a guy who was projected to go in the first round, but now they have him more as a second round type of guy. So
he's a space eater.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I feel like running back and D tackle are 2 positions that I would stay away from in the first round. The second round, if a guy falls to you, then maybe you think about it there. But like I said, I just feel like we have way too many holes to take either a running back or a defensive tackle.
It's also Christian Miller from Georgia.
Yeah. Peter Woods is definitely somebody who a lot of teams like too, from Clemson.
I think you're going to see offensive line, second, third round. You're going to definitely get some bodies in there.
I think so.
Versatile guys, guys that maybe, can play guard or the tackle position. I mean, they're going to address that. They have to. They have to have a few extra bodies on the interior, especially. As far as I'm concerned, and even a tackle.
But that's what makes the draft so interesting. There's so many positions of need.
Yeah.
That you really can't go wrong. You know what I mean? And then you try and fill around that to get you through the season.
Well, you can go wrong. You just got to pray that you don't. I mean, you got to. I mean, we've been drafting tight ends forever, right? I mean, from what was the guy way back that they were praising? He had a funny last name.
Gesicki?
No, not Gesicki. Prior to Gesicki.
Before Gesicki?
Yeah, a guy that was a basketball player as well. And, I can't remember his name. And then there was Gesicki. And then there was Hunter Long. And, they none of these guys panned out.
Hunter's still playing, I think.
Yeah,
but he's like a
third string tight end.
Yeah, tight end. I mean, he's still on a roster, Mike, but, to trade up in the second or third round to draft him and then, him not being on the team 2 years later, that's a failure as far as I'm concerned. So they have to, when they do make these third round picks, and we have 4 of them. I mean, these guys have got to be players that are going to be on your roster and being productive. It's key. It's absolutely key. I don't think they can really go wrong in the first round with the amount of talent that's in this draft at specific positions. We've dropped the ball before, though. We had opportunities.
You never know. These guys are not guarantees. None of them are.
None of them are guarantees. Yep. But I do have faith in them. Making wise decisions.
That's all you can do, right?
That's all you can do. These guys, listen. When you speak to them, both of them, the GM and the head coach, character and work ethic has a lot to do with everything. Like, I'm certain if they've sat down and they've talked to guys, or if they've done their homework and talked to head coaches in college about, what type of individual these guys are, I think personally that, they're going to make the right decision. And they're going to base a lot of their decisions on all of that, because that's the way they are, and that's the way they want their players to approach the game of football. So I have a lot more faith in this organization.
I don't remember the exact quote, Lewis, but Sullivan said you don't interview their coaches to find out what kind of players they were, because the coaches are always going to talk up their players. Mm-hmm. He said you talk to their opposition. You talk to people that face them.
Right.
What kind of people are they?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of player are they? And that's basically what he was saying. So, I mean, obviously, they're going to do extensive reviews on the guys that they draft early, and I'm sure even some of the later round picks. So,
yeah,
we'll see where they go with it, because you never really know. You just don't. You never really know. You got to get the guy in your building. You got to see what his strengths are. You got to see what his weaknesses are. You got to develop his weaknesses as best you can, and play to his strengths. Mm-hmm. Ask him to play to his strengths. So that has a lot to do with success or failure, too. The right coaching staff putting the player in the right position to succeed. It doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
So, anything else, guys?
Yeah, I got one more thing. A little bit of news broke this week that us and David Njoku have mutual interest. The former Miami Hurricane. He's 29 years old. He's still been pretty productive. I just feel like in that Cleveland offense with the quarterback play that they've had the last couple years, I feel like has kind of held him back a little bit. But he's a really tough guy. He can block. He's got good hands. And I think he would complement Dulcich pretty well. He still doesn't have a home right now. So obviously his market is not through the roof. So maybe we can get him on a nice deal, team friendly deal. But that's a pickup that I would love. That would give Malik Willis another weapon there.
Target.
Yeah. What do you guys think about that?
I wouldn't mind it. I mean, it just depends on, how much they're going to throw at him, and again, if we address the tight end position in the draft, if that's the route they decide. How old is he?
He's
Chris?
29.
He's 29. I mean, he's up there in age. I mean,
do you think he'd want to come here?
I've got Mick.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
He said he wants to.
Would. Yeah.
I think he said he wanted to. That there's mutual interest, right? So, I mean, I'm kind of in between on it. I think that if it was a year from now, and we saw the team like really going in a good direction, maybe the second half of this coming season. Hey, you go out and get another weapon for Malik if he has a good year this year. I think that he may be a year too early, per se, for this team. But who knows? We'll see what happens. I mean, to me, he's a great talent. I mean, he'd be a phenomenal weapon for Malik. And if they draft a couple of really good receivers, I mean, man, he's got a lot to work with on that offensive side of the football. So, there's pros and cons to it both. I mean, if he comes at a reasonable amount of money, why not, right?
Yeah, and this draft doesn't. I mean, aside from Kenyon Sadiq, there's a big drop off to the next few tight ends. This isn't a very deep draft as far as tight ends, and I've said it on previous podcasts. I don't feel comfortable with our tight end room right now, especially Dulcich being the number one guy who hasn't been able to stay healthy. I mean, if he's able to play 17 games, I think he's going to be very productive for us. But, I mean, that's a big if. Yeah.
It's a risk.
Yep.
And Njoku's the type of guy, he's a high character guy too. We've lost a lot of leaders in the locker room. You got to bring in some vets to, show these new guys the way.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree. But, I don't know if they're looking for 29-year-olds. That's the whole thing. I just don't know that they're going to do that. But that's not to say they won't. I don't know. Personally, I don't know if I would do it. I would probably invest that time into a draft pick because they have a number of draft picks. They can certainly draft a tight end. Maybe they're not the best talents later in the draft. But what are you looking for? Are you looking for a blocking tight end, or are you looking for a receiving threat?
Yeah, I mean, I think with Dulcich being a receiving guy, you probably would lean more towards a blocking tight end.
That's
I mean, not to say Dulcich can't block, but I mean, like I said, Njoku's a guy who can do both. So, that's kind of how I feel. I would love it at the right price, of course,
Yeah.
And I don't see us signing him to more than like a 2-year deal or something like that, or even a 1-year prove it deal. Because like I said, I mean, if he hasn't been signed up to this point, obviously his market is not through the roof. So
yeah,
maybe he takes the hometown discount to come back and play ball where he played college,
Maybe there's a kid, Josh Cubas from Alabama. I got him ranked 174, and he's a smaller tight end, but brings a smart, tenacious play style. He competes as a blocker and can contribute as an intermediate receiving option, projected as a tight end 2 type. So it sounds like somebody, we could be looking for. He's 6'3", 256, so he's a little thin, but he can always put on a little weight.
Yeah, and if we're going to talk about tight end prospects in the draft, one guy we've been linked to is Eli Stowers. He's projected to go more in the 3rd round, 6'4", 240. His first team, what does it say? Sorry, my thing just... He was first team Associated Press All-American. He won the John Mackey Award for the nation's top tight end. His stats for last year were 62 catches for 769 yards and 4 touchdowns. Played in 12 games with 5 starts. So, yeah, I mean, like you were saying, a little bit of a later round guy if you want to take a shot on project. I don't know if he's ready to play right now, but they have a couple options.
There are some options. I'm looking at some PFF grades, and there's a lot of tight ends in the 79, 80 range that they're going to be available. I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of them. So there are options out there, and then there's more if I keep counting. So, and if they really want the tight end, I'm sure they can find one. That's my point.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I don't know, how they consider that, as compared to other positions. I would probably be looking for more beef personally, but I don't know how they view it. Lewis?
Yeah.
We good?
Yeah, all set.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back possibly later in the week. And until then, fins up.
Fins up.
Fins up, Dolphins.
And that's the end of another show. I want to thank the Believe Network for allowing us to join them this year, and the Dolphins Talk Network, who we've been a part of for many years. I want to thank both of these outfits. They're exceptional people, and we're proud and honored just to be a part of it. Until next time, take care.